What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So there's two big issues that are currently going on here in the United States, and these two things are what the American people are worried about the most. The first one is inflation. Now, we've been talking about inflation a lot, so I don't want to really touch on that, per se in this video. The second thing is gas prices. This right here is one of those things that is impacting every single person's wallet. And it's impacting us immediately. Now, President Biden has tried to bring gas prices down, but it's been pretty unsuccessful. Initially, back in November, he actually released 50 million barrels of oil from our strategic petroleum reserves. And now he has agreed to release another 30 million barrels. But the 30 million barrels, it's not just going to us here in the United States. That's the other issue. And the real problem right now is that the United States alone uses 19 million barrels of oil every single day. That's insane. Now, and I want you to remember that number, 19 million barrels per day, because I'm going to do some math in just a minute, and we need that number. Now, in recent news, everything's been pretty scary. There's a lot of talks of, how do we prevent Russia from further invading Ukraine? And the one thing that's been discussed, and the one thing that's still on the table, is banning Russian crude oil. Now, this would mean that the United States alone would lose between 8 to 10% of its oil supply. We purchase about 675,000 barrels of oil from Russia every single day. But that isn't even seen as the last of what's going on. Because here's what I can tell you. Past history shows that gas prices between the months of March and May 30th, okay, those 3 months, March, April, May. Those 3 months, we see gas prices go up anywhere between 25 cents a gallon to 75 cents per gallon. Now, what you need to keep in mind is when this happens, okay, the expectation is gas prices are obviously going to go up, but what we're seeing now is this isn't factoring this number in. We're not there yet. So right now, this is what the expectation is. Gas prices are going up, but we haven't even started factoring in the demand. That 25 cent to 75 cent per gallon price increase. That's what's scary. But then you need to factor in the demand, okay? And right now, there's been a slow in demand due to one thing, okay? I want to explain what this is, because this is what President Biden has really been pushing over this past week. But the one thing that's bringing demand down and slowing us down is remote work. Okay? I want to touch on this because this urge from President Biden to try to get everybody back into the offices, this right here, according to experts, is not the right move. If we could actually reverse it and go back and have more people work from home, that would be ideal for gas prices. Now, listen to this. Many companies are still working remotely as a way to prevent the spread of COVID in the workplace. And that's understandable. But President Biden, I believe twice, maybe even 3 times this week alone, he has been urging companies to return to the office immediately. And he said, and I quote, "Because of the progress we've made fighting COVID, Americans can not only get back to work, but they can go to the office and safely fill our great downtown cities once again." That's what he's pushing for. Get people back into the office. Because if you drive through some major cities, for instance, downtown Seattle, Washington, it's like a ghost town at many times throughout the day. You see a lot of homeless people, but outside of that, you don't see a lot of people working in businesses. They're not even open. Nobody's in the office, or in most cases. Go to some place like Chicago, New York, right, San Francisco, you see a lot of this. People aren't really working in the office yet. But President Biden also went on to say, most Americans can remove their mask, return to work, and move forward safely. Now, we also heard from the CDC, and the CDC numbers show that more than 90% of Americans can just remove their masks. This is great. These are all good signs. But again, we're looking at this in today's video from the standpoint of what would this do to gas prices? Not what does this can do for our economy And getting people back to the office would be great. Great for morale, great for the business, great for everybody. But here's the problem. The problem comes when all these employees decide to return to work. Okay? So let's do some simple math. Remember, we use 19 million barrels of oil per day. Now, we're going to need that number in just a second. Let's break this down. Currently, in the last estimate, there's about 4.7 million people who work remotely at least 50% of the time here in the United States. Okay. Let's just say, let's be fairly conservative. We're not even going to say 50% of those people are going to go back to work. We're going to say 20%. Okay? Just 20% of those people who work remotely full time will now work in the office full time. This means that an additional, out of that 4.7 million people, 940,000 people would be traveling to and from work every single day. I'm not even going to account for a lunch. Okay, I'm just going to say to work and then back home straight. The average commute, according to reports here in the United States, according to the Department of Transportation, they're saying it's 14 miles one way. So 28 miles round trip. Now, a typical car here in the United States, I'm just going to say uses 20 miles per gallon. New cars are right about 25 miles per gallon. Older cars, and you got some trucks, they're closer to 17 to 18 miles per gallon. So I'm just going to stick with 20 miles per gallon because, well, it's easier math. This means that 940,000 people per day would require an additional 1.4 gallons of gas each day. Now, let's add that up. That means 1.4 gallons of gas would be an extra 1.3 million gallons of gas per day that would be needed. This is why gas prices would continue to rise if everybody decided to go back to work in the office. And being that the average, roughly, the United States averages about 19 million gallons of gas per day. Again, remember I told you to keep that in mind. This means if we use an additional 1.3 million, that accounts for about 7%. 7% increase in gas usage. Then you factor in the possibility of a Russian oil ban. Remember I said we get between 8 and 10% of all of our oil from Russia. That means we see demand increase by 7%. We see supply decrease by 8% minimum. That means we could see a swing of 15% from just these two things. Yeah. Do you see why this is scary now? And again, I don't mean to scare you. I don't mean to scare you in thinking that you should just stop driving right away because that's the only option. That's not, okay? But I promised you that I would explain what is going on, how it could ultimately impact us here in the United States, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do right now, okay? So, if you have any questions on any of this stuff, you can always ask your questions down in the comment section below. But I just want to bring this to you from a different angle because people keep on saying, yeah, let's go back to work. Let's get in the office. Awesome. Well, if I had the opportunity to either go back to work or stay home, right? Well, pretty much I work from home, right? I don't work for somebody else. So if I go somewhere, it's because I want to go there. But here's what you need to keep in mind. If I was to have to decide, do I go into work and drive 28 miles per day, or do I just stay home? Well, am I going to get a little bit of more pay to go into work? Because if not, why wouldn't I just stay home? I could reduce the usage of my car, reduce gas, right? Maybe I don't need as much insurance on my car as I currently have, right? Maybe I don't need full coverage. Who knows, right? But all maintenance would be reduced. All these things would be limited. So if I stay home, so if I go to work, I go to the office, I better be getting a raise, right? And so that's the other issue is then we could see raises. And if we see raises, is that going to push inflation up again because products and prices would be getting more expensive as well, right? We see that wage price spiral. It's possible. And so that's why I wanted to bring this to you from a different direction because I think so many people are thinking, oh, that's good. Let's open up the offices. But at the same time, there's a little bit of an adverse reaction to this. And it could potentially be rising gas prices, All right. So that's what we know at this time. As always, as I know more, I promise I'll bring you all the latest news and updates. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.